Most people think that there are only two types of people when it comes to money: those who chase it and those who just don't care about it at all. I used to think not caring made me better, like I was above it. Money was shallow, corrupt, something only greedy people obsessed over. So I just ignored it. I didn't learn how it worked, I didn't invest, and I didn't think long term. I just lived for the moment. And at that time, to me, that felt like freedom. But it really wasn't. It was just ignorance. Because ignoring money doesn't remove it from your life, it just removes your control over it. I still had bills, I still had responsibilities, still lived inside the same system as everyone else. The only difference was I didn't understand it. And when you don't understand something that controls your life, you're not free. You are dependent. I remember blowing through money constantly on huge nights out, big drink spills, random purchases that felt good for about 5 minutes. And then it was gone. And every time it ran out, I felt it. I felt that little bit of panic, that pressure, that lack of control. But instead of fixing it, I just repeated the cycle. I earned a bit more and then I spent it. Repeat. No progress, no structure. And at the time, I just justified it. I'd grown up around the 2008 financial crisis. I saw banks collapsing, bailouts, people losing everything. And movements like Occupy Wall Street kind of reinforced that idea that the system was broken, that money was corrupt. So I had told myself opting out was the right thing to do. But that was a lie, because the system didn't disappear just because I had ignored it. It was still there and I was still subject to it. I just had no control within it. The real cracks in that mindset didn't come from books, they came from my travel. I remember being in places like Ethiopia and Haiti and with withdrawing from an ATM, what should have been a normal amount of money, and being handed this stack of notes so thick that it could barely fit in my pocket. Same value, completely different reality. And I remember thinking, how does this even work? Because in those countries, the currency had become devalued. Inflation had eaten away at it. And suddenly, something I'd never questioned, it didn't feel stable anymore. That was the first time I'd realized money isn't just money. It can lose value, it can break, and it can fail. And if you've never seen that happen, you just assume that it never will. But in other parts of the world, people don't have that luxury. In Sri Lanka, where part of my family is from, people store wealth in gold, not for appearance, not for status, but because they just don't trust the currency. They understand something that I didn't as a Westerner. Money is only as strong as the system behind it. And that system can change. And that was something really, really uncomfortable for me to realize, because it meant that people with far less than me understood money far better than I did. They had an awareness, whereas I had a comfort, and comfort made me blind. But the real turning point came from something unexpected. It was in sneakers. I started buying limited edition sneakers for the hype. I just liked them. I got caught up in that hype cycle. And then I saw people making money from reselling them, you know, two, three times what they paid it. They were making bank. And that's when something clicked in my brain. Value comes from scarcity, not effort, not opinion, just scarcity. If something is limited and people want it, it holds value. And suddenly I saw my own behavior clearly. I'd spent years buying things that lost value the second that I bought them, instead of putting money into things that could hold it or grow it. That simple shift changed everything. because it led me to ask a bigger question. If scarcity drives value, what else works like this? That's what led me into understanding assets and eventually into things such as Bitcoin. Not as hype, not as a get rich quick scheme, but as a system built on scarcity, on fixed supply, outside of control. And for the first time, money actually made sense. That's when my perspective changed. Money isn't evil. It's not something to worship either. It's just a tool. And the real value of that tool is in the freedom it can give you. The freedom to walk away from things that just don't serve you. The freedom to help people when it matters. The freedom to make decisions based on what you want, not what you're forced into. That's what wealth actually gives you. But if you ignore it, you don't get the freedom. You just get dependence. And if you chase it blindly, you also don't get freedom. You get trapped in it. So the goal isn't to reject money, and it's not to obsess over it either. It's simply to understand it and use it properly, because every financial decision that you make has two sides: what you see and what you don't. You see the purchase, the experience, the short-term reward. But what you don't see is what you gave up, the investment that could have grown, the compounding effect over time, the options your future self no longer has. And that is the real cost. And once you start seeing that, you cannot unsee it. Every decision becomes clearer. You stop reacting and you start choosing. That's where all of this begins. You need to start thinking about the system and understanding how it works, not to just go along with it, but to understand that there are those people who get it and there are those people who do not understand it or are choosing to ignore it. And if you get it, you can use it as a tool. There's a lot to be spoken of about money, about what money is these days, about fiat currencies, about gold, about Bitcoin. It's all very swirly up here when you first kind of dip a toe into these waters. But what's important to understand is that you you cannot just choose to ignore it. This is something that you absolutely have to spend time researching and learning and understanding, because it affects every fabric of your life. Because freedom comes from the ability to be able to relax into your own decisions without having to be super reactive based on, a needs based. I have to be in this job because if I quit, I need to pay rent, I need to buy food, I need to take care of my family, this kind of thing. You need to understand that freedom comes from wealth. And it's not about what car you drive or what clothes you wear or how much money is in your bank. It is in the freedom that it allows you to have a relaxing life, to focus on who you want to be and take care of who you want to take care of. And this is the first step in the journey of understanding finance, money, and wealth. So I'm going to be doing more videos on this. This was just a bit of an introduction video. I hope you got something from it. Like and subscribe to see the next videos, and I will see you in the next one.